Thanks for joining. We're going to touch on restoring P6 data. And of course, none of us have ever had a problem with deletes. That might happen. I'm sure you must have, otherwise you probably wouldn't be in this webinar. So I'm Nicole Jardine. I'm coming to you today from Montreal, but normally in Calgary. I'm the founder and CEO of Emerald, and doing the heavy lifting is Sue Familia, coming to you from Wyoming. And she's going to run through a case study, sort of a scenario. We're going to use our demo environment, but it's a scenario we have actually had and have had to deal with more than one client, unfortunately, but things do happen. So we do have common struggles that we bump into with P6. P6 being a multi-user, multi-project environment is fantastic for gathering all your planning and scheduling data in one place. But sometimes we do get into situations where our data is missing and we're not quite sure why. Okay, so resources could be deleted, or projects could be deleted, or WBSs, things like that. They can happen, and we've had it happen in more than one situation. So you want to be able to see who was using P6 and who deleted some of this data. So Sue's going to walk through what that looks like, and we're going to use our auditor tool for that. So what's the solution? Well, part of the solution is auditor, but auditor only goes so far, and she'll show you that. So we actually are going to piggyback two of our tools. We're going to use auditor to find out what happened, when it happened, because that's important, right? Depending on when something got deleted, that's going to dictate what you have to do to get it back, and so get it restored. And the next part is getting the data, because if it's been deleted, it's gone. So how are you going to get it? How are you going to get at that data? How are you going to bring it back? And she's going to touch on some of the features in our loader that we have with backups. And she's going to touch on how you can get that data out and get it back into P6. So those are the two angles we're going to show you today. She's going to run through a real example. Now, just a quick overview on how these two tools works, how they work, these different tools that we've built. And we've been using both of them for over 10 years, probably closer to 15, but I can't remember exactly. So, well, over 10 years anyway. So auditor lets us see what happened. So the events, so things like adding, editing, deleting. We also can see users and usage reports. They're less important for this example, but those are features inside the tool. And if you missed our latest webinar for our latest version, there should be, I think there's another one coming up next week. So definitely take a peek at that as well. We'll go into more depth on some of these. And then P6 Loader lets us not only deal with project data, but the big thing here is it lets us get at global data. So things like resource dictionaries, role dictionaries, codes, user-defined lists, etc. So that's a big thing, because that's not easy data to get at. Even things like XCRs don't have all of those globals inside of them. They only have what's used for the given project. So that's where these two tools piggyback together can be fantastic at getting at the data, seeing where the problem occurred, and then getting it back. Now, in terms of deployments, so this says P6 Loader, but it's also auditor. So if your P6 is on-premise, our tools can be put on-premise. If you're in the cloud, like an Oracle cloud, and you're on the software as a service, our tools can be put either on-premise or in our cloud, whichever way you can do it, and it will work. And you can have a mix of stuff on premise and in the cloud. Okay, so basically we cover all the different scenarios for deploying the tools. Okay, so I think I've given you a little bit of how the tool works, what we're going to run through, and I think I can get it over to you, Sue, to do the deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, let me switch it on over. Coming your way.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so that we can take a look at a real life scenario that we've actually encountered with one of our clients. This is only one scenario, but it can kind of give you a flavor of what we can do with these two tools to restore your data. So I have a project here, and I was working on it yesterday, and I had everything I needed. I had some resources that were assigned, but I'm finding now that my resources are no longer assigned in my project here. So I'm a little concerned about that because that was important, of course, for my project. So if I go to my resources, and I'm just going to collapse it down and take a look, I am not finding my resources in my resource dictionary. So what it looks like is that someone deleted that tree where my resources were located. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to use P6 Auditor. Now, P6 Auditor will allow you to see the events, and I'm just going to sign in. One thing I do want to point out is that you can have it pointed at more than one database. So you can use this on multiple databases. But I'm going to go into my demo 2020. And the first thing I want to do is I want to go see the events that happened. First of all, I'm going to go into my activities, and I'm going to look at my resource assignments because they're not there anymore. So if I go into my resource assignments, it's going to bring up, the full list. And right now I'm only looking at 20 rows. I'm kind of taking a look at what I have had most recently. And I know it was there yesterday. I know that my resources were there yesterday. So I'm going to take a look at actually the past day as to what happened. Now, I know that these were deleted, these resource assignments. So if I had anything other than delete up here, I can actually go and I can filter out, and I can say, I only want to see my deleted resource assignments. And these are going to come up for the past day. Now I can see where my P6L Auditor project had a lot of resource assignments deleted here. Now, what I also know is that those resources were actually deleted from my dictionary as well. So I can also go up into the resources area, and I can take a look at my resources. And again, I'm going to look at just in the last day, because I know that's when they kind of disappeared. And just for this particular scenario, I have actually made a layout where I have drug some of my columns around. I've frozen several of my columns in here, and I've saved it for just this type of investigation, so to speak. So I'm going to go to my layouts, and I'm going to actually select that layout that I had created previously, and I'm going to load it, and it's going to come back and it's going to show me what I want to know. So you can see now I can see my resource description, my resource name. I have a user category here, and what this user category is that I actually have it filtered by just a regular user, because I suspect that it was just a user who deleted the wrong tree, so to speak. So I can also do like P6 internal, meaning this is what like calculations and things that P6 did on its own. And then I have API internal. So anything that was changed through the API can also be displayed as well. So I could display all of them if I want to. But in my case, I want to look at just the user. So I'm just going to apply that regular filter here. Now, what I'm seeing here is in my ID column, I have my P6L odd AUD, and it's now blank, telling me that yes, it indeed was deleted. So if I scroll over here a bit, I may have gone too far. I can see that these were all deleted here. And so I have a problem. I have some of those that have been deleted that they need to come back. So I'm only seeing 20 rows here. So I want to make sure I get the full list of these resources that were actually deleted. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to expand this so that I can see, and I can see that they were all deleted about 1:20 this afternoon. And I have quite a lot of them that were gone. So what can I do with this information? I know that they were deleted. I know what time they were. I also have the user that deleted this as well. I can tell who deleted this. So there may be a chance for some coaching that comes up with that. Maybe I go to this user, let them know, hey, this happened, and you need to be really careful about what you delete, make sure it's valid, things like that. So there might be some coaching that comes along with that. Now, as I scroll down, actually, I'm just going to take my scroll bar here. I'm seeing that, yep, I have a whole bunch here. And then I'm getting down to where I have my time that actually I have, that's where all my deletions occurred. So I know that I've got my full list, okay? Got my full list of those deleted resources at this point. Now, what I can do with this list is I can actually export it. And when I export it, it's going to open up into an Excel file. Now, what I'm probably going to want to do here is I'm going to want to go to the bottom of my list where I had those kind of stragglers here, because I wanted to make sure I got all of the ones that I needed. And I want to delete the rest of those here, because these aren't going to be important. This is something else that happened at a different time, and they're actually updates here. So I also probably should have filtered on my delete, and I would have gotten just the deletes, but I can delete these. Now I can use this list to reinstate my resources in my database. Now, the way I can do this is with P6 Loader. So our other tool we have is P6 Loader. Again, it can connect to many different databases, but I want to connect to the Demo 2020 one. So I'm going to sign in, and with P6 Loader, we have a utility that you can automatically back up your projects in either XML files or Excel files that are compatible with P6 Loader. So we had this turned on. And so if I go to my jobs here and I take a look at my backups that were performed, I see that I've got this one on 6/20. Well, that's the one I want, because this happened just after midnight today. So I want to get the global information, the resource information for my resources from this download. This was my backup. Not only am I going to get that, but I'm also going to get XML copies of my projects. So I'm going to get the project that was kind of messed up because of that deletion. So I can use that XML file to actually restore my project back to the way it was. And I know what date to go back to, because I looked in P6 Auditor and it told me it was the 20th. So I'm going to extract all of these. And once they are extracted, I can actually open up one of my files called the global extraction, and you can see it here in the background. And what happens with this one is it is backing up all my global data. So whatever was there when this backup was taken is going to still be accessible for me to utilize. So it's taken a minute or two, or actually I guess it's not that long, but I'm going to actually sort these so I can see them all at the top, and I'm going to open my global extraction. Now what my global extraction is again, all of my global data. So when this opens, I am going to see a whole lot of different types of tabs in here. So I've got, security profiles, I've got spending plans, change logs, funding, everything I could imagine, calendars in here, but I don't actually need these. What I need are my resources. So I'm going to highlight my first tab, and helps if I go back, and I clicked the wrong place here, so I apologize. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go and find my resources tab. So here's my resources tab. I don't need any of these tabs in between. And that didn't work for me. So let me go try that again. I'm going to go up to the front. Well, why is that not working? I should be able to hold down my shift key and it should highlight. There we go. And I can simply just delete out these tabs because I'm not really concerned about the data in the other tabs. Now, I want to make sure that I get all of the information that is pertinent to my resources. Now, I know that I didn't have any roles that were assigned to any of these resources. So I don't really need the resource role tab, but I do need the resource rate because I want to grab my rates and bring them back as well. So I don't need anything past this piece here. So I'm going to keep these two tabs, my resources and my resource rates. And I'm just going to work with those two pieces, because what this is going to do is allow me to reinstate or reload those deleted resources. Now, the way I can do that is now using the extract or the export that I did from Auditor. So I'm going to take this resource name in my Auditor because I know that these were deleted, and I'm going to copy this and I'm going to take it back to my global extraction, and I'm just going to paste it so that I can now perform a VLOOKUP on my full resource list as well as my rate list and load only those resources that were deleted. Now I've already done that because just in the interest of time. So I've got my sheet with the VLOOKUP. So here are my resources that I got from Auditor. And then in my resource tab, I did a VLOOKUP that looks up the ID and then matches it to whatever was coming from P6 Auditor. So you can see I've got a whole bunch of not applicables. So in order to narrow that down, I just need to filter. And if I go NA, it's going to bring back just those ones that are not missing, so to speak. So then I can delete these. And then all I have left are my Auditor, my P6L audit tables or tree. I can do the same thing on my resource rate. So I've done the same thing, and this one is also has the NAs on it. Now, just in the interest of time, again, I have a sheet or a workbook that I've already created that has only those resources that I want to restore and those rates that I want to restore. So I can save this the way it is. I've added a new column, but P6 Loader will ignore that column, my lookup column. It'll also ignore this sheet 1 because it doesn't understand what that sheet 1 is. So I'm ready now to just reinstate my resources. So if I go back to P6 Loader and I upload this file, let's see. Oh, went too far.
So what you're doing right now, Sue, is going to put them back in the dictionary, right?
Yes, this is putting it back to the dictionary. This is how I'm finding out first which resources need to be reinstated, and then I'm putting them back in the dictionary, loading them back in to my database.
Okay, so it wasn't that someone was in the resource assignments and deleted some resource assignments. They blew away the dictionary.
They blew away the dictionary. Yep. Okay. So I needed to restore that dictionary. I'm sorry that I probably wasn't clear with that.
Okay.
But I could go look at those assignments to kind of find out, yes, these were deleted here. And, I need to find out why they were deleted. Were they deleted as a mass change in my project? But as I looked in my resource dictionary, I found that the whole resource dictionary for my project was gone. That piece of my resource dictionary.
Okay. So this how could that happen? Like, I mean, so why wouldn't we have enough security around the resource dictionary to not let that happen?
Well, in a lot of cases, we don't have the proper security set up for our users. And, accidents happen. People do things and they don't even, they may not even realize what they've done, which like I said, it might require some coaching. Maybe we need to take a look at our global our security profiles and make sure that those who maybe aren't as learned about resources and resource assignments and things, maybe they shouldn't have access until they do understand that and they have a little bit more experience under their belt.
Okay. And then the other thing that I know I've seen is I think it was maybe version 20 or 19, I'm not sure exactly which one, but Oracle did add the ability to give people limited access to the resource dictionary, but it doesn't always work for some of our clients because you only get to choose 4 nodes or nodes within the tree, and some of the clients need more than that. So you can't always get the security you want on the resources. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I'm now going to load the dictionary, my missing dictionary data into P6 based on my lookup and the information I got from Auditor as well as my backup in P6 Loader. So I can just go ahead and upload this file. P6 Loader is going to go in and it's going to create that tree in my dictionary again. So once it is finished, it's going
to... You have to do that first, right? Because you can't get them into the project without it. Okay.
Right. Correct. Because what I'm going to use is I'm going to use an XML file. And maybe my XML file doesn't have all my resources that I actually need.
Right.
But I want to make sure I restore all of them.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep. So it's finished. It's told me that it's completed that. So now if I go into P6 and I refresh, it's going to go out and grab those resources that I just loaded back in. And I'm going to just, let's see. And here is here are my resources. They are restored. But that doesn't solve my entire problem. My entire problem is that they still are not assigned in my project that I was working on. So I can go back to that extraction, that backup that P6 Loader performed. And I can find that if I go here, and luckily it's right up here at the top, I can find that actual project. So I can restore that project back to where I wanted, where I needed to, where I need to restore it to. So P6 Auditor is telling me, okay, you need to go back to the 20th and you need to restore that project. And then I will have my project back the way it was prior to those resources being deleted. So it allows you to kind of self-serve. You don't need your IT to go in and run queries and things like that. So it gives you a little bit of control, that, you know, a lot of IT departments are either assigned to many different projects or programs. Sometimes you have to wait for them, and that's not always conducive to your timeline. You want to get in there and working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-import.
Just on that note, in the Oracle Cloud, you're going to have to put a ticket in.
Right.
And you're going to have to wait.
Correct. Yep.
For that.
And
so many
they're
of our
not
clients,
always completely responsive immediately either.
That's right. Exactly. They have some sort of ticket timeline, and many of our clients that are in the Oracle Cloud have the loader because we added that auto backup functionality. So not only does it take out the projects, but it takes out the global data, which is the key.
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to use that to go get the project.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm going to go and I'm going to import that backup of that project. So first of all, I'm just going to close all the projects I have open. And then I'm going to import and go to my XML. And I will browse to where I need to go, and I've already set this up, so it was very easy for me to find it. If I didn't have anything in here, I would scroll through. There isn't a really great lookup in this screen for your imports, so I kind of plugged in that project earlier, so I didn't have to go search for it. A little bit inconvenient. But an alternate that you could do is you could go and you could copy and paste the name in there so that you could actually find the proper project a little bit easier as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to import this. Make sure I go to the right place and get my XML to import. Now, what's great
is from yesterday?
This is from after midnight. Yes, it was from after midnight. So I have a daily backup that runs of all of my projects and my global data. So I was able to go at 1 o'clock this morning when this backup ran. I know that was prior to the deletion because my deletion didn't happen until 1:23 this afternoon. So I knew which date to go back and restore the data so that I got the proper project that I'm restoring the right version, I guess, of that project.
And so what about all the changes you made during the day? Will you explain that?
I would have to. Yep, I would have to go back and recreate those, but it's a lot easier than assigning all my resources and all that.
Could you get P6 Loader just to go get the resource assignments instead of the whole project?
I could do that too, but in this case, I actually have progress.
Okay.
That's on this particular project, and I don't want to lose that progress.
Okay.
So when I restore it from when from the last backup, I'm actually getting that progress and those actuals restored as well. So that was the reason I went through and actually restored a backup copy of it. It might take some work to redo a few of the things that I did today, but it's better than, reassigning everything and trying to recreate all the progress on the project as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up my re-imported project. And now I can see that I have my resources are back. So I can see that I've now restored my project. Now I can go back and either delete this project that is no longer, put it in a, an archive file, whatever I want to do with it. And then this now can become my working project, the one that I imported. And I'm able to restore, like I said, I have actuals on this particular project. And so I wanted those actuals to be coming in as well. And there's no way to get those back through P6 Loader if they're already gone. So this allows me to get those actuals restored as well on my resources.
So how do you know all the things that you did today?
Well, it's all a progression. It's basically, where can I get that information? And with the two tools, with Auditor, I can go and I can see, when did this happen? I could even have in my resource assignments, I could have filtered for my project and made sure that it was just that project that I was looking at, and when these were deleted, when that assignment was deleted. But what this did was give me a clue as to, okay, when did it happen?
Mm-hmm.
And since my resources were gone from my dictionary, I could go up to my resource area and see that they indeed were deleted from the dictionary itself. Okay. And then utilize this information with my backups in P6 Loader.
Okay, but let's say today you added 10 different activities since last night's backup. How are you going to find those? What? Does that activity tab help you?
Yeah, actually, I can go into I can go over into my activity tab, and it's going to show me, my project short name, my activity ID. I could, maybe freeze a couple of these and scroll over and find out exactly what I added on my update or my inserts.
Okay.
So then I can get those activities back as well.
Okay. Okay. And if you added some activity codes, would you be able to use that activity code assignment to see it?
Absolutely. I can go into my codes here. I can go into my activity code assignment. I would be able to see the activity code, the activity ID, my project name, and what was assigned in there. And so as I again freeze these, as I go over, it's going to give me, I don't have any on right now on my screen, but I can also set up to see the activity codes. So, and user defined fields as well. So I have my project code called demo division, my demo location, a UDF called AUD change, AUD scheduler. I would be able to see actually the information that had been added since the resources, or since that backup was created. And I could utilize this with P6 Loader to restore those pieces of data as well. So using these hand in hand are really very useful, especially, in this case where we had deleted data and we may have to restore back to an earlier version, but we can still see here what happened in here. Now, you don't want to delete that project until you have restored all of your data. The old project, the one that didn't have resources, you don't want to delete that because it totally removes it from the tables. So you would want to do this first, restore everything back from the time you took your backup up to the time where you actually found that there was a problem. And then if you wanted to delete that project, you could go ahead and do that. But you want to restore all your data first before you delete that old project, because that's going to keep that that history in there then. Because once they're gone from the tables, it's not going to find it in Auditor.
Okay. So since I have my old project still, can I use P6 Loader to pull out my activities that I added?
Yes.
So I don't have to restart from scratch?
Absolutely. So if I were looking for just my missed content, I could also do an extraction with P6 Loader. So let's say I added activities, I added some relationships, I had some resource assignments. Then I could go and I could select the project that that was old, that after I restored, or after I did the backup. Let me make sure I got
the one you were working in today.
Exactly.
When you realized something had got deleted.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. Okay.
And I must need to refresh my tree here. Yeah. Okay. There we go. So this is my old one. And then I could extract that information out.
Okay. Okay, so if I added 10 activities and you added activities and we did a bunch of logic,
it would all show up here.
Have to necessarily do it all again.
Correct.
Okay, that's good.
So it's going to go out and it's going to get those activities that I added. Actually, it's going to give me all of my activities in there, and then I can go and find the ones that were added in since the last time, or since my updates for today.
Okay. So is there a timestamp inside here that someone could filter on?
Absolutely. There is. So we have clear at the back here. If I can find it. I think I bounced it. Here, easier way. Let's do some collapsing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of information on activities, and it pulls out everything.
In our demo database, we have
absolutely
so many different examples.
Actually,
I think it's last modified.
Last modification is here. There we go. So then I would be able to take my last update and filter on that for the timestamps between the backup and when I discovered my issue.
Yeah.
And then I could load up what I needed to restore that information on my project.
Okay. And do you have that on the logic, the relationships?
Yes, I do have that as well. So I've got it on all of them. In my resource assignments, which this doesn't have any in here because I didn't add anything new and they all got deleted. But and maybe that's when I discovered that my resource dictionary was gone, was when I was doing my assignments. But yeah, this last modification date is going to allow you to find out what happened since that deletion occurred.
Okay. Okay, good. So you wouldn't have to necessarily start all over again.
No, actually,
the activities that got missed or got deleted or were added, I should say, since the backup. And then you load in the logic, and then you could load in other things too, I guess, if they're missing. Right?
Yeah, whatever you may have missed, whether you had some costs that were in there, or some expenses or anything like that. You would pull those out, and then just reload them, and it's going to update your current project. What you are going to do is change this project ID, of course, to your current project that you just imported in, and make sure it goes into the new project.
Right.
That has been restored.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, that could save a lot of time. Now, in your example, you went back to last night's backup because you realized only partway through the day
Right.
that you had a problem. But what happens if you were 4 or 5 days without realizing something
If I were
happened?
4 or 5 days without realizing that, I could do essentially the same thing, except
Okay.
for I would go to my jobs and I would go back to the day
Oh,
where that deletion occurred and restore that download, that
okay.
uh, that zip file. So I can go back. For right now, this is set at 30 days to keep this information, but that is configurable if you want to keep it longer than that.
Okay, so you're getting a backup via
Every
P6
night.
Loader every single night. Okay,
Correct.
awesome. So you could go back 5 days before if you
Yep.
realized. Okay.
Yep, they have them all listed out here. And this is for two different databases. I have my one demo and I have my demo 2020. So
Okay.
I'm working in demo 2020. It tells me which database the
Hmm.
backup came from and what day it was that it backed up. And then I just can download that and get that information from there.
Okay. Okay, good. I get it. So I jumped in and started asking a lot of questions, but was there any other scenarios you were going to run through?
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay. Okay.
I just wanted to
That's,
do kind of a basic, something that has happened to us that we had needed to go and do this
yeah.
for a
I
client.
think I think another common one would be activity codes because those two are global and maybe calendars. So
Right.
could you point people in the right direction as to how you would look at activity codes in Auditor?
Sure, sure.
Okay.
So we have all of these subject areas here. So in my code, I have one that's called codes. And I can look at my project code type, which is your actual code itself. And then in the project code, well, I don't know if I have anything here. Let me go to my activity codes. In my activity codes, this is actually the assignments that were made. So you can see that I've got some inserts here. And if I go over on my right, I can see that I've got my activity code, my name that was actually added in there. And
Okay.
so I can do the same thing with that global global backup, restore those activity codes, or I could just take them from here, whichever was easier for me, and then reinstate those activity codes as well as the assignments on those. Because if I go into my activities area here, I would have my activity code assignments, and the same goes. It's showing me what project those activity codes were added to
So what's an
and what the
assignment
code number was.
versus an activity code? Maybe we can show the,
Okay. So the activity code type and the activity code are the dictionary itself for your activity codes. That's
okay,
going to
what's
be
that look like in P6? Just so they
so in
can make
P6.
sure they
Okay.
understand what we're
Yep.
showing them.
So in P6, we have our activity codes here. And let's say I wanted to, well, these are project codes actually. I could, let's, well, let's look at globals just to be, and I need to change my filter here. What the activity code, no, I can't remember what it was
Just
called.
go down. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
On this is my activity code. Oh, shoot, didn't do that right. These are my activity code types. So that is the name that the activity code is given. When we're looking at activity code itself, it's giving you the values. So this is the type, and this is the values that are in that dictionary for that activity code.
Okay. Okay. So the pick list is the values.
Yep,
Okay.
the pick list is the values. That's the
And then
dictionary.
what's an assignment?
And so an assignment is, let's say I go to codes here, and
Okay.
I have my codes on this project. I have my responsibility contractor as ESS, it is assigned. That responsibility contractor code is actually assigned that value of ESS.
Okay. Okay. So similar to resources, if somebody messes up the activity code dictionary, you're going to lose the assignments.
Yes, and
Okay.
we've had that happen where somebody has
Yeah.
deleted an activity code,
Yeah.
thinking it was no longer used, but indeed it was. I can go back and I can find those and reinstate them again because you want to get your full dictionary. And then when I import my XML file, it's going to have the assignments in there for me, and then I can, you know, take the last however time period, maybe if it was 4 days later that you noticed it, I could get all of that, all the additions and the changes made to my project in Auditor,
Okay.
and go through and find those,
Okay.
because Auditor tracks anything that happens, whether it's deleted, whether it's updated, or whether it is actually added or inserted. So I can look at any of those types of scenarios.
Okay. And you got the date stamp right there as to when
Absolutely.
it occurred. So
Yep.
you can filter on that as well. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let me see if there's any questions. I don't see any more questions right now. If you have some questions or you want to ask about a scenario that you might have already been through, we can try and tackle that. And should I take it back, Sue? Should we do the wrap up?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
perfect.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Okay. Yeah, these two tools, it may be a little overwhelming if you've never been in this scenario, but likely you guys, if you're more administrators, then you've probably seen some of this deleting. In terms of the price, so it depends on the way we sell our tools are subscription based, and they're usually volume based, not by the number of users, but by the number of databases or records that you're working with. So we start with standard packages, and then we go to a professional particulars are. Okay, so for example, Sue was showing you P6 Loader. P6 Loader, we charge by the point, and the point is almost equivalent to one line in Excel. So that allows you up to 250,000 records each month that you can pull. Professional, I think, is 1 million, and corporate, I think, is 4 million. So it really depends on your specifics. So if you do want to talk more about those things, I am going to just put up a quick poll, and you can let us know if you want us to reach out. If there's a scenario you want to talk about, that way we can reach out properly, and you can go ahead and answer that. Okay, so it depends on those specifics. We need to know a little bit more to be able to answer the question. But the reason we have those different subscriptions is to try and be fair, to a smaller company that wants to use some of these tools. And then for a larger company that's got hundreds of users, perhaps many, many databases, it's reasonable for them to pay a bit more because they're using it on a lot more databases. That's sort of our strategy on our pricing. Okay, so we did the deep dive. You got to see it in action. Some of the benefits. So hopefully you saw some different things that are interesting in there. Okay, so our tools are very robust because they've been in use for a long time. And we've just added a lot of functions to Auditor, and we have a few more really interesting ones that we're playing with right now, like how to do restores is one of the ones we're looking at. But time. Okay, so that's a big thing. If you have stuff that's deleted and you need to get it back in, if you've been in that position, it's quite a challenge, and it can be very frustrating. If you've got to roll back your database, if you've got to get IT to try and get you a new database, you could wait, in some cases, days to get that access. Okay, so this allows you to get access very quickly. Within minutes, you can start troubleshooting the problem and working how you're going to get the data back. That can be invaluable if you're in a reporting cycle, if you're in a turnaround. So those are really important. So the tools, I hope you got the idea, they don't seem that hard to work with, and they're not. Auditor, in terms of training someone up, it's just a few hours of coaching, maybe running through one or two scenarios together. Loader's a little more, because Loader not only lets you see the data, it lets you load the data. So you got to give a little bit more training. And we usually sell those tools with some consulting. That way we're there to support you, because some of the scenarios you bump into are not ones you do every day. So it's a good idea to get a little bit of help if it's something unusual. Now, of course, saving money, saving frustration, searching, we touched on that. And it can be important to have these backups. Okay, so the P6 Loader has those backups that you can get at. There's not an easy way to do that. Otherwise, yes, you can use the XML exports in the functions, the job services, but you have to remember to add new projects. And we had more than one client that forgot to add new projects, and they didn't have any recent backups. Okay, so this is a big thing with P6 Loader that we added in the last 6 months to make sure that we could support clients in the Oracle Cloud, because we didn't have privileges necessarily to restore databases, etc.
Another kind of important note is that our tools do go through the API.
Yes.
So in the case of P6 Loader, if someone is not able to work with global data or security profiles or users, they aren't going to be able to use that function in
Right.
P6 Loader as well, because it does respect that security that you have set out in P6 for your users.
Yeah, good point, Sue. Yeah, really good point. Okay, so hopefully, you got some ideas here on some of the potential struggles and some of the solution kit that we've got, and hopefully you can see that Emerald can help. We have a lot of tools that we built over the last 28 years to support P6 and Unifier. Some of the older tools, of course, we did integrations with P3 and Expedition, and we supported contract management, PCM, for many, many years. So we've got a very robust toolkit because we've had programmers as part of our team from the very, very beginning, working on integrations and then supporting large clients. And then the clients were saying, well, we want those tools as well. So that's really how our toolkit came to be. It was clients wanting to be able to also have those tools available. So if you have questions, go ahead and send those to us. If you want to know a bit more about these two tools, we do have webinars with just each one of those that we do even deeper dives into Auditor, into Loader. And we have many other tools. So we've got P6QA, which lets you quality check your schedule development. You don't need expensive third-party software. It's built, it's pushed. Our tool is an add-on, but it's the framework is right in P6, so all your users can use it. We've got P6 Calculator, which lets you add different calculation methods into P6. So if you've got a data set and you want to expand it with costs and expenses or different factors of safety, etc., those are things you could look at. I'm sure I'm missing some. We've got our TAPS and CAPS. Those are two fantastic updating tools. But just go to our website and take a look at our webinar schedule and look at our tools if you want to see a bit more. And certainly answer that question I popped up earlier if you do want us to reach out. If you want to reach out to Sue, you've got our contact info there as well. So I'll stop recording here.